Hey, it's Stephen Diener from the hit podcast UAP, and you never know who might show up to talk to me about the alien topic, like Snooki from the Jersey Shore.
You literally are my favorite UAP Alien UFO podcast.
Or Nick Pope from the popular show Ancient Aliens.
From the temple walls in Egypt, the way in which there are similarities between that and how scientists now think we might open a wormhole. It's uncanny.
Find out why millions of others have already downloaded UAP, and listen now just by searching UAP wherever you get your podcasts.
Josh Arnold, investment consultant, brings you Garage Logic podcast number 1570, June 24th, 2025. I don't like how fast the days are going by. The record high on this day was 101 in 1988, and it was as chilly as 44 degrees on the morning of this day in 1972.
Call Josh.
Oh, I'm sorry. Call Josh Arnold at 952-925-5608 for a free 48-minute consultation.
Hail the flashlight king.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
A little quiz for you fellas.
Already?
And the listeners.
Uh-oh.
As quickly and as plainly as possible, I want you to put the following three words, the words I'm going to give you, into Garage Logic language.
Okay.
Is this a writing experience?
No. Are you ready?
Yep.
Ineffective adhesive retention. Ineffective adhesive retention.
Ineffective adhesive retention is the
Unbonding.
reason why your gas tank continues to leak.
Nope.
Fail.
Ineffective.
Adhesive retention.
Not use it in a sentence.
No,
use it in a...
You can use it in a sentence if you want, but all I wanted was a simple...
That duct tape is crap.
Using the wrong glue to repair a piece of wood.
You guys were bad test takers in school, weren't you? Because you have to sound everything out.
Yeah, I was really bad.
Yeah, actually.
Jesus.
Can't
This
believe we
is
just
an
figured that out.
internal exercise, gentlemen.
Ineffective.
Well, give us your answer, Chris.
Well, I was trying to look at that, but I was listening to you
Smart
idiots
Well,
babble.
what's your answer?
Well, ineffective is obviously something that doesn't work.
Bad glue.
Well, he's going to break it down now word by
Adhesive,
word.
right.
I'm trying to use my, I've been attending the University of
Bad
Garage Logic
glue.
for 15 years. Yeah, I was going with.
Oh,
no! I was trying to think of more of a GL
Well,
terminology.
retention would be the key word then.
That's what I'm-
The answer to this is we didn't use enough glue.
Oh, okay.
Ford Motor Company has recalled. I heard this on the news driving in, and I thought, are you kidding me? They are recalling some Lincoln Aviators apparently because plastic parts have been flying off, and so rather than say we didn't use enough glue, they're saying this is due to an ineffective adhesive retention. And I got a kick out of that.
Yeah, that is.
I said I got to tell the boys that
It's
one.
almost city council speak, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's, they're paying somebody that's got a room in the building.
No, we can't go with that.
Tell them we didn't have enough glue on there, and he comes up with,
all in favor say aye.
we call that ineffective adhesive retention.
You know
You
how-
mean you didn't use enough glue? Well, yes.
Do you know how I had a clue about that? Because decades ago, when the Euphorians tried to sell bonding, you said...
Bonding.
What bonding is the
Bonding
definition
is
of...
when you glue two pieces of wood together with epoxy.
Exactly.
That's bonding.
That's how
bonding.
Exactly.
Is that what they use to keep the windows down? They use glue? Glue stick?
Windows.
Is that what you said in the Aviators?
No, I said pieces of plastic are
Oh,
flying
I thought you
off
said
it.
window. I'm sorry.
No,
you
no.
said plastic.
There's many funny phrases like that for when, and unfortunately, I can't remember any of them right now, but when an engine literally explodes and a piston goes out the side of the cylinder, There's a lot of really funny phrases for that. I'm sure we'll get emails on it from GLers.
You know, internal combustion failure. And
like fast exit or it's God, I wish I could remember.
But you know, to tell you the truth, if I owned a car, I'd rather hear we didn't use enough glue than ineffective adhesive retention.
Yes. Put it in my terms.
I'd feel more comfortable
Put it
about
in my terms, yes.
See, with inattentive adhesive retention, I'm thinking, what else could be wrong?
I got to look that one up.
I'm troubled by that. But you tell me you didn't spread enough Elmers on there. I'm cool.
Then I know.
Here, I found one. Rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Well, there's been a great one with some of Elon's rockets.
I was just going to say, Kenny, that was a rocket expression. The way you
I
just
think
said.
so. Yeah.
When they blow
farmers
up.
use that for their engines too.
Rapid unexpected disassembly.
Yeah.
You know, we talked last week about coming up with the theory that what can GLers do to help repair the torn fabric of America, rather than just join the national echo chamber of complaining all the time. We're trying to come up with things, and the best I could come up with is keep things clean. And I must be on the right track because I have two important items. One is I cut this out of the front page of the Wall Street Journal Saturday, just a couple days ago. And I thought to myself, holy mackerel, look at this. It's right up the alley we were talking about. The headline is, Why New Orleans is Rallying to Save a Trash Collector. Subhead, French Quarter residents hardly recognize the spotless area. It's a little ray of sunshine. And what you learn in this story is that something strange happened in the French Quarter in December. The trash-strewn streets were swept spotless seemingly overnight. Graffiti old enough to graduate was power washed out of existence, and Bourbon Street's sense of vomit and regret was replaced with the smell of lemons. It wasn't magic. It was a new emergency sanitation contract. And now, much to residents and business owners' dismay, the mayor wants to take it away. So here's what happened. The city was in negotiations with its longtime hauler, and they failed to reach an agreement. So they reached an agreement with a temporary hauler, and to state his case. Well, why don't I read it to you? It's pretty good. New Orleans are used to dysfunction. They have endured frequent outages, building collapses, and a citywide boil water advisory blamed on a Mylar balloon. So when a service goes well, people notice.
Sure.
In other cities, people generally don't greet one another on the street and talk about garbage, said Stephen Swain, who lives on Bourbon Street. All people can talk about is how wonderful the whole cleanliness situation is and worrying that it might go away. Trash bags he puts out for collection disappear within minutes. Uniform workers go around with manual scrubbers and rags, cleaning even the tops of trash cans.
Come on.
And don't get him started on the trucks that seem to whisper rather than screech through the streets. We have a little ray of sunshine in our lives, Swain said, and they want to take it away. Well, what they want to take away is the object of his affection is called for waste, Roman numeral 4, IV. Okay. So the object of these new people that came in are called for waste. They provide trash services for most other neighborhoods in New Orleans, but it didn't win the French Quarter contract. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell selected Henry Consulting for the nearly $75 million multi-year deal. Well, it's probably your cousin or something. $75 million multi-year deal in what city council members called an unfair bidding process after the previous provider's contract ended. When Henry Consulting got into a payment dispute with its subcontractor, the council refused to sign the contract, and the city in December tapped For Waste to clean for a year on an emergency basis. Well,
and they took it, and they're taking advantage of it.
And what I would do if I was the mayor of New Orleans is say, you've won our hearts, we're signing you. Apparently that's not what's going to happen with the subcontractor issue. So Henry went and solved its subcontractor issue, and Cantrell said she wants Henry Consulting to start work at the beginning of August. But the council is hanging on. They're refusing to sign the contract. So owner Troy Henry of the old trash pickup outfit, he is suing. And now it's in the state courts. And there you have it. It's very unusual for someone to be so incredibly popular and easy, yet a politician just goes, hold my beer, said City Council President J.P. Morrill, who has been leading the charge to rebid the contract. Cantrell decided to decline to comment. Henry said his company deserves a chance. We'll do an exemplary job, he said. Well, yeah, but they've been shamed into it now. They realize the benefits of it. He said the Lemon Cent residents love Henrietta as part of the deal. They're gonna come back with the lemon. But here's even a better part. The Four Waste owner, IV, Roman numeral, Four Waste, the new guy that came in and spiffied everything up. His name is Sidney Torres. Ironically, the fourth.
Okay.
So that's why he calls it Four Waste.
Here, yeah.
Get it?
Got it now.
He's worried that the new contract does not specify how much of the fragrance they need to use. You can go buy a little cup of Pine Sol and pour it in the back of that truck, said Torres. That's like throwing a Tic Tac into a whale's mouth. You ain't going to smell it. So he had the lemon part figured out.
Yeah, he did.
Right? Okay, that's the story. But I just found it so heartwarming to see that obviously what we thought of is hardly new and hardly novel, but it's terribly important. Look at how it perked up the spirits of the people in the French Quarter to suddenly have some. See, this is what I've always thought. If you're a trash collector, why not be the best trash collector ever?
Let's go. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being a trash collector. Be the best one you can be.
That's across the board for every
You're right.
occupation.
Everything.
Yeah.
If you're a school bus driver, be the best possible school.
Joe, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Well, I don't know if you should.
What does that make us?
Tell me about your outfit at O'Gara's again.
I don't think you need to dress in a suit to be a trash collector. But
why not?
But it's because you would be uncomfortable. You would be too warm.
I make a nice living.
Yes.
Can I take my sleeves off then?
Yeah.
But I bet a uniform T-shirt would be
maybe a light jumpsuit
appropriate.
Okay.
Oh, no, I know. I don't care that you're making an analogy. That's going to get one of these here.
Well, I just love to see stories like this. I mean, this is the glue that holds. This is the adhesive that continues to reflect its retention.
Do you remember Ray Nagin? Did it ever become a chocolate city? After the 2005, the levee broke and it was the hurricane, and he came out and he said, "We are going to make this New Orleans a chocolate city."
Well, that
we didn't
work.
know what that meant.
I don't know either.
But
That's
the current
one of my
mayor is
favorite
from
movies.
Compton.
It's a great song by Parliament.
Yeah,
CC, Chocolate City.
It's not very often that the businesses, the residents, and even the tourists agree on any one thing, said Joey DeFate, group president of a group trying to keep the Four Waste. It's not necessarily the residents are worried Henry Consulting will do a bad job. It's that they don't want to risk changing something that's going well. Tourists seem to be noticing that the city looks spiffier, but they are befuddled by the new signs. Is this about four drugs? In other words, they don't know what the hell to think. Torres, the four guy, Torres insists he hasn't done anything to drum up support, but he certainly doesn't mind. It feels good when you give your heart and soul to something and people take notice, said Torres. And he lives in the quarter. That makes a difference. I wish we didn't have the cops. I wish we still had I know it's unfair. I've been through it all. I don't want to hear anything. We've got the First Amendment. I get it all. But I wish cops for St. Paul lived in St. Paul. I think it makes a tremendous difference to see a cop car parked in your neighbor's driveway and he's part of the neighborhood.
Do you want to talk to one that, and the reason why he didn't want to live
I'm aware of all of it.
Okay.
But I wish that wasn't the case because I think that would be part of what I'm after.
But isn't the guy in New Orleans?
Christ, they all live in rural Wisconsin,
Prior
for God's
Lake.
sakes.
Yeah, right.
Calm down with the language, pal.
Yeah, I was praying.
The guy in New Orleans, what brilliant marketing. My goodness. Yeah, that's the best kind of marketing you could possibly ever do. He's just so much better than everybody else.
Well, you know what, Kenny? You've made it as simple as possible. The best kind of marketing is to do one hell of a job.
Yep.
Under promise and over deliver.
Yep.
Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing
because you under promise all the time.
I know, all the time.
And under deliver.
You get used to it. It's fine. Bam.
As promised,
And that
I've
is the
under-
last
That's a big
nail.
boom bam.
At least you keep your motto, Matthew, is I keep my promises.
I'm consistent. I was laughing that in 2014, Nagin was convicted on 21 charges of wire fraud,
That's
bribery,
right.
money laundering,
Yeah.
10 years in federal prison.
Yeah.
Because he was taking bribes.
So Chocolate City never
it
materialized.
never happened. It was more like a chocolate malt.
You know, and the mayor could do wonders. She has no obligation, as far as I can understand, to sign the old hauler.
Well, especially if there's been this change.
If she has residents, businesses, and tourists alike saying how wonderful this is, she's not being effective to go with it. She
Right,
should
listen to your counsel.
She should say the people have spoken.
Mm-hmm.
We love the work that Mr. Torres is doing in a neighborhood he happens to live in. So we're going to go with him.
Oh, I just had this thought. Now, who's the Minneapolis city councilman who said to his people, to his the people that voted for him, I don't care what you want. I am pushing this through.
Jason Chavez.
Yes.
Yeah. Quite the difference.
It really is. Now we turn to Sanibel Jim, who has spent a long career in law enforcement. And he heard us talking about the broken windows theory. The broken windows theory is, Chris looked it up and had a definition.
I can do it again if you
Yeah,
want.
the broken windows theory is that crime tends to flourish if there are broken windows, because the
broken window theory, Joe, developed by James Q. Wilson, posits that visible signs of minor crime and disorder in a neighborhood like graffiti or vandalism can encourage further and more serious crime. The idea is that if minor infractions are ignored, it signals to potential criminals that the area is not well maintained or cared for, and that criminal activity is tolerated.
Let me tell you that when we come back. I want to tell you about Bradshaw and Bryant.
Oh.
Personal injury attorneys, if you're like me and other people I know, you might not know what to do if you have to deal with the insurance company or are injured in an accident. Insurance companies and adjusters can be difficult to deal with. So you need somebody on your side, and Mike Bryant from Bradshaw and Bryant has an entire team. They're ready to explain your rights, represent you, and help you in a tough time. And this guy, he wins his awards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For 6 consecutive years, Mike has been recognized as a super lawyer by Minnesota Law and Politics, which is the Bible when it comes to naming super lawyers. He's been in the top 10 for 6 consecutive. No, I'm sorry, top 40? Well, top 40. He's probably in the top 10. Yeah. I hope you're never in an accident, but if you are, call Bradshaw and Bryant at 800-770-7008 or go to minnesotapersonalinjury.com. That case evaluation, of course, is free. And Bradshaw and Bryant does not want you to be part of the problem. Don't text and drive or drive distracted. That's just common sense from Bradshaw and Bryant.
Reavers here once again for my guy, Mr. Money Talk, Josh Arnold. Does thinking about retirement make you uncomfortable? Well, sometimes the anxiety from wondering if you've saved enough can be overwhelming. But what if I told you that you could ease those tensions in just 48 minutes? Well, Mr. Money Talk is going to be able to sit down with you and get you on the right track for your financial future. Josh has navigated it all when it comes to uncertain market and economic conditions, and he'll always provide straight talk, never sugar-coated advice on how to reach the finish line with your retirement goals. Don't let your financial worries give you an ulcer or keep you from calling Josh right now. His 48-minute, no-obligation consultation could be just what you need to feel better about your future. Call Josh today at 952-925-5608 and set up your free 48-minute, no-obligation consultation. That's 952-925-5608.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe Souchere Show.
Throw it out, tug it in, and it's going to be full of those unwanted and creepy lake weeds that always circle your feet and freak you out. Of course, we're talking about the GLer's friend, the tea weeder. It's invented by a GLer, Tim. He bought his dream home and then, discovered he had a crop of lake weeds. So off to the garage he went to figure it out. When he finally emerged, he had in his hands the tea weeder. It's a rake-looking aluminum tool with offset teeth and a stretch of rope. You throw this thing out as far as you can, let it sink, and then with a series of quick tugs, bring it back to the shore. And all those weeds with shallow roots come in with it. Pull them off, let them dry off there on the shore, put them in the fire pit. We've heard they make great garden mulch. But anywho, it's all legal with the DNR. But you know what? Feel free to confirm that for yourself. Feel free to confirm anything I say. But we've had a number of emails from GLers testifying to its excellence. The tea weeder, it's available online with free shipping. That's a big deal these days, actually. Free shipping. That's nice. Thank you, Tim. Go to teaweedertool.com. You're going to find pictures, videos, several testimonials. And by the way, all tea weeder materials made and manufactured right here in the US of A. Get to teaweedertool.com.
Kenny, hold on, Joe.
Yep.
We were just watching the video of the gentleman using the tea weeder tool when she throws it in the lake.
Yeah.
Has it strapped to his wrist. We all know our guy here. Can you imagine this guy up on the lake in the boat, throws it out in the water? That sucker's going to pull him right into the lake.
I'd probably go flying
right into the drink.
He's just going to be at the bottom of the lake pulling him out himself.
Here's what we do know about the mayor. He would break this out when all the kids are on the front yard by the lake.
Yes.
And he would only have to throw it once, and then the kids would do it all afternoon.
All day long.
Right. I don't want to turn it dark, but your mention of the weeds reminds me that we lost a Metro Council transit officer.
Yeah.
Is the gal who died on White Bear Lake Sunday.
Oh,
John,
no.
do you have her name in your news?
I don't. I did see it.
And I was wondering if she got caught in weeds. She was only down 6 feet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it that bad on White Bear?
There are milfoil patches that are pretty bad, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Sergeant Beverly Rodriguez.
That's right. I think she was 40 years old.
Yeah, I saw a Facebook post of her on social media.
And it was a really windy, choppy day. And as I read the story, the best way I could put it together is the guy on the pontoon went in after her to bring her a life jacket. But then I think, and I could be wrong here, but I'm speculating, the pontoon began to get away from him. So he hustles back to that, turns around, she's gone.
She's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, so God bless her. Now play the broken windows theory again.
Joe, the broken window.
I'm not play it, mention it.
Is that visible signs of minor crime and disorder in a neighborhood like graffiti or vandalism can encourage further and more serious crime. The idea is that if minor infractions are ignored, it signals to potential criminals that the area is not well maintained or cared for and that criminal activity is tolerated. This can lead to a cycle of increasing crime and social disorder.
And what it leads to is a decline in quality of life. Now, here's Jim, who spent a long career in law enforcement. You have identified a theory that gained popularity in law enforcement during the 1970s. I recall this theory well because it was during my early law enforcement career when I became familiar with it. New York City was a strong advocate for this theory and served as a model for other cities across the nation. He's speaking about the broken windows theory. In my opinion, this theory was effective. Rudy Giuliani, who served as the mayor of New York City from 1994 to 2001, was a brilliant mayor. His previous experience as the U.S. Associate Attorney General from 1981 to 1983 and the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York from 1983 to 1989 further strengthened his background for the mayor of that city. He almost single-handedly rid the city of its mafia organizations. As a street cop and later as a commander and then FBI agent, we applied this theory extensively. It proved to be effective. During the 1970s, the police academy in New York City introduced this concept and emphasized its application in developing arrest and deterrence plans. However, as with any contemporary issue, race became a factor in the implementation of the theory. Our quality of life initiatives targeted low-level offenses, and as a result, crime rates significantly declined. Nevertheless, the theory faced criticism. Many on the left argued that it led to excessive policing of marginalized communities. I hate the word communities, he puts in parentheses, and did not unequivocally demonstrate that reducing disorder caused a decrease in crime rates. They suggested that this correlation may have been coincidental with broader social changes. Sociological analysis revealed that we made significant advancements in identifying offenders and their patterns. It was discovered that African Americans committed more crimes than any other racial group by a substantial margin. Unfortunately, that information was suppressed due to political considerations, and it continues to be suppressed. Let me stop right there. I have no reason to doubt that. Everybody on board with his experience?
Yes, I believe that.
Unfortunately, but I believe it. The programs of stop and frisk, for example, which involve stopping vehicles that were in disrepair for equipment violations and generally arresting African Americans as they were apprehended committing crimes, became a political issue. Once this occurred, the theory was dismissed by leftist politicians. We found that vehicles that had equipment violations, and we've already seen that get wiped out here. We can't do it anymore. We found that vehicles that had equipment violations, even a simple taillight out, were operated by people whose lives were generally in disarray. That was a real finding. Today, the crime statistics remain unchanged, albeit more compelling in that African Americans lead the pack in terms of crimes committed per capita. However, this information will never be openly expressed in the present day. Well, we've seen it not be expressed. We've seen it here to the extent where we would just as soon not have police officers. Mm-hmm. Indeed, your observation regarding the application of the old theory is accurate. However, it is important to note that its practical implementation in contemporary society is just unlikely to occur. The broken windows theory posits that high levels of physical disorder, such as litter, graffiti, vandalism, and antisocial behavior, are directly correlated with an increase in crime rates. This theory falls under the right realist approach to criminology. Establishing contact with individuals within an officer's patrol area is a crucial aspect of policing. Individuals involved in criminal activities are generally apprehensive about being identified. The theory's applicability extends to various environments. For instance, retail employees engaging in friendly greetings or simply expressing a welcome can deter potential thieves from committing crimes. It is the identification of these individuals that is feared rather than the mere presence of themselves. While the theory may be perceived as racist, it is essential to recognize that it is based on empirical evidence and does not constitute discrimination. If you and me were engaged in a more extensive discussion, there would be much more to explore. However, given my current retirement status, writing dissertations like this is not my preferred activity. I could delve into the topic further. I find that writing reports and papers is no longer a fulfilling task. Hell, I'm lazy. During my training at the FBI, I had the opportunity to study criminal behavior, particularly serial killers. Certain aspects of the broken windows theory were even incorporated into those studies, albeit in a limited capacity. Nevertheless, they were acknowledged as a valid concept within the broader context of criminal analysis. While the broken windows theory remains an accurate concept, its practical application has been diminished due to political considerations. You are damned correct again, lad. He's older than me, but not by much. He calls me lad.
Okay.
I hope that this experienced clarification provides a clearer understanding of this topic. Hell, I'm 80. We had side curtains and running boards on the squad cars I drove. Sincerely, Sanibel Jim. You know you didn't, Jim, but I get the idea. But it is empirical. The broken windows theory is true. It's been proven. It's true. Now, I don't know we're supposed to go around and glaze windows. I'm not going to go around with a glass truck and fix a window, but everybody listening gets the idea.
Can I ask you something about yourself? Why have you been so obsessive about every single light and all of the equipment on your vehicles always works? Why is that with you personally?
Well,
a lot of time on his hands.
No, because they're supposed to.
I'm the same way for a completely different reason. Because I learned as a young man, if you're going to drive around drunk, doing every sort of illegal activity there is, make sure everything works. Signals, taillight, license plate light, always signal your turn, don't have cracked windows. All of that stuff attracts the law.
Okay.
And this was from a family member.
And because you're no longer leading this hedonistic lifestyle,
right.
You continue to maintain the lights.
Joe, it's stuck. My taillights on my truck require a special tool to change the bulb. Yeah. I carry that tool with me at all times. And I have extra bulbs in the truck. That's how obsessive I am.
I'm going to cut people some slack. What has changed dramatically, and you rookie's too young, Reavers is too young, the rest of us aren't. What has changed dramatically in automobile manufacturing is the complexity of the headlight.
Yeah.
It can cost you up to $5,000 or $6,000 to replace a headlight in a modern, expensive SUV.
You used to be able
to go to Snyder's and get a headlight, a sealed beam headlight for $2.89.
Pop it in there.
Pop it in, and bing, bang, boom, you had a new headlight.
I don't think it's by accident. I think it's on purpose to make you more reliant on them and to sell you big dollar items.
Well, they are today we have undeniably better headlights than we did in the early 60s, say.
Okay.
They're great headlights, but holy mackerel are they expensive.
Jim's email brought to mind an old friend of mine. I think he's passed now. He was clean, no drinking, no drugs. He looked like a Grateful Dead roadie. And he drove an old, I don't know what the hell it was, a nasty old station wagon. With all the equipment working, he would get pulled over once a month. Finally, he asked a police officer, why? I'm always getting pulled over when I haven't done anything wrong. And they said to him, you fit the bill. Mm-hmm. You'll look like you're up to no good.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
everything Jim said is dead on. He's right.
New York now is on the verge of electing a committed Marxist. Get me his name. AOC backed, and he's he's predicted to beat Como, who's trying to make a comeback running for mayor. Mm-hmm. And this guy wants New York will really go in the tank if this guy gets elected, because he wants everything to be free and nobody has to pay for anything.
His last name is Zorhan. I'm trying to find his first name.
It won't return to the glory. I shouldn't say glory days, but remember New York in the 70s?
Yeah.
It's not going to return to that state, is it?
Zorhan Mamdani.
Yeah.
Mamdani.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in New York in the 70s, principally covering the Twins or fights or anything else that was there. And, man, it was bad.
I was lucky enough to get a tour of all of Manhattan in the 70s. Boy, that's a trip I'll never forget. Oh, man, that left an impression.
One time, I've told you this story before, I was very close to Carew. And I said, show me where you grew up. We don't have to catch the bus till 3 in the afternoon. Let's go. Let's get a cab and show me where you grew up. And we went to Harlem, and he showed me. And he said, before he got out of the cab, he said, do you have any jewelry? And I said, no. He says, and he had I think he was wearing an all-star ring. And he turned it into his palm so you couldn't see the bauble, and it was just habit. It was just habit. Then we walked around and saw where he grew up, and it's just a vignette. But New York in the 70s, if your car stopped, you'd be approached by a guy with a very greasy, dirty rag to try and clean your windshield, and you felt compelled to give him money, but all he did is make the windshield worse.
A spray bottle full of urine.
Yeah, it was terrible.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, or we're talking about, just watch the movie Taxi Driver. Yeah. That did not stretch the truth at all. That's exactly what it was like.
You talking to me?
What's the James Bond movie that starts in New York in the 70s but ends up in Haiti?
Oh, that's Live and Let Die, isn't it? But it starts in New Orleans, actually.
Starts in New Orleans with a funeral.
Yeah, that's Live and Let Die.
Then we cut to New York.
Yep.
And it's New York at the height of the 70s.
Yep.
And you can just see it. You can see it in the air that it's just not a good place.
That's the Glastron GT15 150, the shorty.
Yeah. Where were we? Oh, yeah, broken windows.
Carew.
Yeah.
I buy the theory, and 5 will get you 10 when you go back to, let's get back to the New Orleans story. If there were broken windows in the French Quarter, I'll bet you all of them were fixed as this trash situation improved.
They've got the wonderful basis for a really good start. I can see your theory working here, and residents taking over and taking the time to clean their stuff, and this really catching on. How do we make that happen in Minneapolis and St. Paul? How does that begin here?
I guess it begins with an individual, walking from his car into a building, and he sees a pop can on the ground. He picks it up and throws it in the nearest container. I don't know how it starts. It starts with just simple things. But as I drive around, I can't claim to think that we're an extraordinarily unkept area.
No.
There's certain areas that are, but not really. I mean, unfortunately, Rookie's the food guy. You'll have to help me on this. What's the pizza place in Lower Town that's going out of business?
It's right by the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
But they're going out of business because of unsafe conditions. You might as well tell me they're going out of business because of the broken windows theory. And apparently it was very popular.
Yes.
I've never been there. I used to go downtown a lot. Downtown has lost a lot of people. It's not good. And the mayor is absent and silent.
Big River.
It's called Big River?
Yeah. Announces its closure, citing safety concerns. After nearly a decade in the business, the popular pizzeria in Lower Town has decided to close. Big River announced the decision in a Facebook post earlier this week.
Yeah, if you had a mayor who knew what he was doing, that wouldn't happen.
I ran into David Brooks at the airport.
Yeah. David Brooks is Herb Brooks' brother, and David happens to own a lot of property in St. Paul.
I said, what's wrong? He said, nobody cares. There's nobody.
It's the Detroit effect.
Mm-hmm.
And you look and see how many places are. There were so many cool restaurants there 5 to 10 years ago in downtown St. Paul. Hip, St. Dinette, others. The other one was a psychedelic throwback to the 60s. Great food, and now they're all gone. It's really... And it's shocking that we're building, we talk about it, bike lanes left and right, get their own lights, great pavement. That's a lot of money to spend.
Because
and I don't see anybody on the bike lanes.
That's a viable theory, Matthew.
It's just
the bike lane theory?
Yeah. Well, all the money's being spent on stuff we don't need.
Okay, then that gets us right back to something we've drilled down deeply on. We've elected the wrong people. America has turned over its politics to an activist class that don't have in mind what the typical working family has in mind.
What's plaguing St. Paul is nobody's caring about salt usage. That's
and like you say,
letting them run amok.
Like you always say, Joe, they don't care about families. As a matter of fact, they don't like families.
Well, and most of them don't have families.
They don't like working moms with 3 kids that need to run to the store quick. They don't care about those
Most of them are renters who don't have a tremendous property ownership stake in the city. They don't have a property tax ownership in the city. They don't have a children in school responsibility to the city. I don't need this one. I certainly don't need this one. I want to tell you about EcoFun.
All right.
The electric bike capital of the world. Hell, it's the generator capital of the world. You can still get great generators on sale at EcoFun. It's EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake / Columbus. It's on Highway 97, immediately west of 35. One of the most fun stores you'll ever be in. Loaded with electric bikes, scooters, motorcycles, Yamaha Wave Runners, side-by-sides, 4x4s, youth recreational equipment. Tremendous, tremendous stuff. Great brand names, Aprilia motorcycles and Moto Guzzi, Yamaha. It's just amazing. Scootstar electric bikes. Great parking lot there. Take the bike you like outside, get it all fit to size. You leave there, that baby's perfect for a summer of electric bike riding. I'm looking at a video now of a mountain electric bike. The big fat tires on it, you can go anywhere. EcoFun is also in Burnsville on the Service Road of Life near County Road 42. I'm due for a scooter upgrade, by the way.
Are you?
And it'll happen through EcoFun.
I hope so.
It's EcoFun Motorsports in Forest Lake and in Burnsville, and a great, great website, ecofunmotorsports.com.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
We were talking about this off air. Maybe it was on the council, I don't know, before the show. How many wonderful items are up for bid right now on K-Bid? You need an office chair? You need a dozen office chairs? What about an excavator, skid loader, clothes, jewelry, cars, motorbikes, boats, household items? I may as well just say, virtually everything is for sale right now on K-Bid. If you don't know, K-Bid is the online auction site that's very addicting, and it allows us to bid and buy whatever our hearts desire. And let me tell you, it's a fun place to linger with so many great auctions right now. Joe had a really good question. Are these local auctions? In my case, every time I pulled it up, yeah, it must know where I live. So all the auctions I'm seeing are in Minnesota. Here's what you do. Go to kbid.com. By the way, that's the letter K-bid.com. The homepage, very helpful. It'll show you how to buy and sell. There's a list of auctions that end soon. And
do I have to sign in? Do I need
not to
a password
view
or anything?
No, not to view the auctions. You just go on there and start shopping.
All right.
But you can sign in if you want to buy or sell. But here's what you do. You go to the top right under the Register Now tab is the search function. And that's what I do. I always put in what I'm looking for, and you'll find a bazillion cool items to find, bid, and buy on. A lot of us bounce around K-Bid almost every day. That's me, just to see what we might need, or like we all know, there's items we need and items we didn't know we needed, but boy, we need them now.
Huh?
Yeah, dish sets, airplanes. Yeah, airplanes. That's for real. Porcelain signs, real estate. K-Bid, where the next great deal, just a bid away.
Here's John Heidt.
Thank you, Joe. This news brought to you by North American Banking Company. Memorial and funeral arrangements are now set for House Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. The couple shot and killed the morning of June 14th at their Brooklyn Park home. State and federal prosecutors have each charged the alleged gunman, Vance Belter, with murder in connection with their deaths. According to plans released early this morning by Governor Tim Walz's office, the Hortmans will lie in state Friday in the Capitol Rotunda in St. Paul. They'll be joined by their dog, Gilbert, who also died after being injured in the attack. Walz's office adds the public will be able to pay their respects on Friday from noon to 5 p.m., and a private memorial will be held Saturday at 10:30 in the morning. An 11-year-old boy is dead after a shooting near a park in Minneapolis yesterday. Minneapolis police were called to Falwell Park on Dowling Avenue North about 2:08 on a report of gunfire in the park. Police Chief Brian O'Hara said witnesses reported seeing a car driving through the park and two other cars moving through the parking lot at the time of the shooting. A short time later, a Good Samaritan sitting on his porch near Morgan Avenue North in Dowling heard cries for help and found the 11-year-old boy with two other men, according to the chief. The Good Samaritan put the child in his car with one of the men before flagging down law enforcement near Penn and Dowling. The boy had life-threatening gunshot wounds at the time and ultimately died at the scene. Chief O'Hara said, "I cannot emphasize how terrible it is to have an 11-year-old shot during the day and killed, but it's clear there were other people here when this happened, and police are asking anyone who was at the park to call 911, leave a voicemail at 612-673-5845, or email the police. You can also anonymously contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS.
You know, somebody had pointed this out on social media, and he nailed it. This would be a massive story 10, 15 years ago, leading the news days upon days. We won't even know. We won't even bring this up tomorrow.
It's interesting you mentioned that. This story of this 11-year-old child is on page A7 of the Minneapolis paper.
Are you kidding me?
It's about, it's just paragraphs. It's a small story.
My God. Well, the Star Tribune's just a freaking joke.
Well, it isn't, but it is.
But it's being done deliberately, don't you think?
I would imagine so.
Have, and you can tell from the size of the paper, I think it's budgetary issues. Now, whether they're not earning enough or they're just not, they just don't have the staff they used to.
They're shrinking. They're quite shrinking.
And I don't know the reason why.
Oh, maybe they've been told to shrink.
Yeah.
Update to a story we had yesterday. Thousands of nurses across Minnesota have voted to authorize a strike, meaning they can now walk off the job as soon as next month. Results were announced shortly after 9 this morning. Although it shows nurses have authorized a strike, it doesn't mean they're walking off the job right away. Instead, it means a strike can be called at any time. The union will first have to give a 10-day notice to the 13 hospitals that the strike would impact. Members of the Minnesota Nurses Association are asking hospital leaders to address better and after patient rations during their negotiation sessions. According to the union, the problem has been something the hospital leaders seem uninterested in fixing. Governor Walz in northern Minnesota today to survey the damage left behind by this past weekend storms in Beltrami County. The bulk of the damage is in Bemidji, where some residents are still without power. Millions of trees have been knocked down, according to a county spokesperson, and hundreds of structures damaged in the area. In addition, thousands of people woke up today, fourth day without power. As of early this morning, there were still more than 5,400 customers without power. The storms were part of a powerful weather system that moved through parts of North Dakota, destroying buildings and uprooting trees there. 3 people in Enderlin, North Dakota, were killed in the tornado that moved through the area.
John, speaking of without power, I have a note from a fellow in Bloomington who suggests that the Star Tribune is creating division
I saw this.
A post showed up. Oh, my God.
It's true, too.
A post showed up on the Bloomington, Minnesota for All Facebook page. Apparently, various communities have Facebook pages, right? Needless to say, the comments have everyone at each other's throats. Supposedly, the poster who put this up is an intern at the Star Tribune. Kinia Chuk? I don't know if that's...
I don't know how to pronounce her name either. I saw it this morning.
Hi, I'm a reporter with the Minneapolis Star Tribune, currently working on a story about racial inequities in long-duration power outages around the state. I'm sure all the black people in Bemidji would agree with this. According to the census data on Excel's map, regions of Bloomington are highly impacted by long-duration outages. If you are a Bloomington resident of color, I would love to talk about your experiences with long-duration outages and how it has impacted your daily life. Thank you. May I just say that if I have no reason to doubt that this is accurate.
It is accurate, yes.
But here's your problem. The problem is you won't acknowledge the broken windows theory, nor will you get, not this particular person, I'm just saying ideologically as a newspaper, you won't acknowledge the broken windows theory, and you won't go to bat and turn over every stone on the ground to find out who shot an 11-year-old kid at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But you'll go fishing trying to create new problems where you think you can hoist your flag of virtue to say that people of color in Bloomington lose their power more often and longer than in other areas. You are full of BS. Just rank BS. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Joe.
Chris, that should be your clip right there.
Boom.
That was your clip.
And the other thing is too the poster, the comments basically it became a back and forth.
I
of people
don't
fighting with
have
one another.
Facebook contract.
But this is what I was alluding to when I said that newspaper is a joke, and they wonder why their subscription base is dying. It's because of garbage like this that continues to surface.
A majority of Minnesotans, 54%, say they disapprove of President Trump's first months in office, according to a new Minnesota Star Tribune, Hubbard School of Journalism and Mass Comm Minnesota poll. The poll of 800 registered voters conducted before Trump launched attacks on Iran found that 45% of Minnesotans approve of the work he's done during his second term. That equals the highest approval rating he achieved in the Minnesota poll during his first term. The poll found Trump had the strongest support among men, white Minnesotan men, people 50 and older, and those without a college degree. His strongest disapproval came from Democratic strongholds in Hennepin and Ramsey County, from women and younger Minnesotans between the ages of 18 and 34. Respondents with college degrees also strongly disapproved of Trump's performance. Trump's strongest support came from Minnesota suburbs outside Hennepin and Ramsey County and from greater Minnesota. Those numbers hold true on his biggest domestic issue, too, immigration. While the majority of Minnesotans oppose the president's immigration policies, there's broad support outside the metro, even for deportations without court hearings. The poll found 55% of Minnesotans polled oppose Trump's immigration moves, 43% support them. Suburban residents outside Hennepin and Ramsey counties divided on Trump's immigration policies, 51% saying they support them, mostly in greater Minnesota, and mostly strongly back the president on that issue in greater Minnesota.
I strongly approve of what Trump said this morning.
I got that coming up here in the national news in just a moment after we hear from Mr. Reavers.
Hi, John. Thanks for throwing it to me. Let's talk about our good buddies at We Are Nuts. Thanks once again to our friends at We Are Nuts for sponsoring our broadcast at Back to the 50s. Did you have fun, Joe?
Yeah, I met Mike, is it?
Rookie and John sampled the dill pickle, coming soon to the Minnesota State Fair.
Stuff.
What were your reviews?
The dill pickle peanuts, you mean?
Yes, the dill pickle flavored peanuts.
They are. They went fast because we did pass them around in the crowd, and I saw a lot of nodding.
I tried to walk out of there with some cashews.
Yeah, I apprehended those as you proceeded to move outside of the fair.
Cashew. I used to be able to name all the nuts. The cashews, they're almost fruit to me.
Yeah.
They're just the best.
Yeah, they are.
Keep in mind, Rook and Johnny, you two were the first ones to sample that. He made those that morning.
That's what he told me. He said, I just made them this morning. Do you like them? I said, yeah.
What does he put on a lab coat and shake a beaker?
That's the neat thing about their facility in Northeast Minneapolis is they can just make stuff right there on
roast
site.
their nuts every day.
Really?
Yeah.
Every single day.
You think they get tired of it, but they don't.
And by the way, you need to stop in at Lunds and Barley's. You've got, one more day because the sale's going on until Wednesday, tomorrow, June 25th, where you can get $2 off We Are Nuts jars at all Lunds and Barley's locations.
What's wasabi?
Oh, the wasabi's. It's
Japanese hot, Asian hot.
Oh,
I like the honey mustard mix too.
Ooh,
it's really good.
Wasabi's are good.
If you're a snacker, and who isn't, by the way, go to wearenutsmn.com and you can see every single different snack item that they have available for you. So you GLers that don't live here in the great state of Minnesota, place your order at wearenutsmn.com. Joe, you're going to say something?
No.
Okay. Wearenutsmn.com. It satisfies the snack lover in your life. Once again, go to wearenutsmn.com and let them know that you heard about them on the Garage Logic podcast.
Hey, this is Pete from Hire Pro. Let me let you in on a little secret. You don't need a roofing company. Yeah, I know, it's hail damage. Probably sounds a little contradictory, but you don't. The thing they don't want you to know is just like when it hails on the house of someone who owns a roofing company, you're allowed to general contract your own project, and you're allowed to keep the compensation that insurance gives you. In the last 3 years, the average homeowner helped by Hire Pro has saved about $6,000. Average. Before you sign anything with anybody, hit up Hire a Pro. We will review your claim with you and show you exactly what goes into labor, materials, how much profit would be on the claim for a roofing company, and how much you can keep when you general contract your own project. It's super simple, and in the end, you get the exact same product. A high-quality roof installed with a warranty and by a licensed and insured crew. So hit us up at hirea.pro and we'll show you on your claim how the cake is made. And in the end, if you'd rather have someone with no transparency take all of your money, you can always still get that done, just not from us.
Visit them online at then put a .pro. It's so simple, even the people knocking on your door could do it.
It's the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
You know, I'll tell you, when you stumble upon a great idea and you know that it's going to work out, and you put all of your heart and soul into it, and it does work out, that's a really happy story. And that's the story with Fireworks Forever. More booms for less bucks. They are a veteran-owned company founded in 1981. And we've got Jason and his wife, Ann, are currently the second-generation owners. Jason's dad was a veteran and founded it in 81. And what do they want to do? They want you to have a good time with fireworks, but they want you to be safe, and they want you to have a great place to buy them. Well, they're advertising on Garage Logic for this 4th of July holiday. They have 2 locations to serve you, Somerset and St. Croix Falls, right on Glacier and Highway 8.
Right on 8?
On 8. But I don't just want to tell you their location. You can go to their website. They got a great website, and that is foreverfireworks.com. You can see the pricing, look at the full inventory at both locations, which is smart to do. It's going to save you some time. You can build your list, and then you're going to go see them. They'll do a great job. And if you tell them that you were on a Garage Logic podcast, you know what they'll do? They'll smile and say thank you for your advertising. Here's the deal. A huge selection with over 400 products in the stores. It is family-owned, locally operated, second generation like they talk about. Here's the deal. They hand-pick and import all of their fireworks. There's no middleman. That means low prices for you. So 2 locations less than 5 minutes from the Minnesota border. They're open year-round. Somerset, St. Croix Falls, a great staff that will put up with all of Reaver's questions because he doesn't know anything about fireworks.
Nope.
Actual pyrotechnicians on staff to help answer those questions and provide you with a safe and responsible fireworks use. So do me a favor, go to their website, foreverfireworks.com. You can find their telephone number, ask any questions, poke around. They are a Garage Logic company advertising on the podcast here. Please patronize our advertisers and let them know that you heard it from the Rook.
Thank you, Rook. In international news, President Trump said a ceasefire between Iran and Israel was in effect Tuesday after the deal initially faltered, and he expressed deep frustration with both sides, dropping an F-bomb about the 2 sides while talking with reporters, saying, quote, "We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the bleep they're doing."
He's right.
Then he hopped in a helicopter and flew away.
Well, he's right. He's right.
He got that one right.
He then hopped in the helicopter, departed for a NATO summit that, in his view, both sides, he had told the reporters, had violated the agreement. He had particularly strong words for Israel, which, of course, is a close ally of the U.S., while suggesting Iran may have fired on the country by mistake. He did later say the deal was saved, although that's still a little bit up in the air.
Can you imagine the conversation he had this morning on the phone with Netanyahu?
Oh, boy.
After he dropped that bomb?
Oh, boy.
I can. I wish we could do it on the air.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Iran claims to have smuggled almost all of the country's highly enriched uranium to a secret location before the U.S. launched those strikes on its nuclear bases. Officials, though, believe most of the material at Fordow and Iran's other facilities had been moved elsewhere before the strikes, and they thought that shortly after the strikes. And members of Congress are hearing directly from intelligence leaders for the U.S. today, receiving classified briefings just 3 days after the strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. A top Justice Department official suggested the Trump administration might have to ignore court orders as it prepared to deport Venezuelan migrants it accused of being gang members. That, according to a fire department lawyer, alleging in a whistleblower complaint made public today. The filing seeking an investigation into the claims about Principal Assistant Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove, who is set to face lawmakers tomorrow for his confirmation hearings to become a federal appeals court judge. Supreme Court today clearing the way for the Trump administration to swiftly deport foreigners to countries where they have no previous ties. The justices lifted an order from a federal judge in Boston who had placed restrictions on the deportations to those countries. District Judge Brian Murphy had issued a nationwide injunction that required the administration to give immigrants what he called meaningful advance notice and a chance to raise objections before they're sent to so-called third countries, nations not specified in their original deportation orders. But the Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's emergency request to put Murphy's injunction on hold. Federal Reserve says it'll continue to wait and see how the economy evolves before deciding whether to reduce its key interest rate. That, according to Chair Jerome Powell, he said that this morning. That stance, of course, directly at odds with President Trump's calls for immediate cuts. Powell said in prepared remarks that he delivered before the House Financial Services Committee, for the time being, we are well positioned to wait to learn more about the likely course of the economy before considering any adjustments to our policy stance. A rare gene mutation that delays Alzheimer's disease does so by damping inflammatory signaling in brain-resistant immune cells. That, according to a new preclinical study led by investigators at Weill Cornell Medicine. The finding adds to a growing evidence that brain inflammation is a major driver of disorders such as Alzheimer's. It may be a key therapeutic target for those disorders. Dr. Lee Gahn, who led the study, said it's an exciting study because it suggests that the pathway could make the brain more resistant to the Alzheimer's process, and by doing this, we could develop medicines to fight it.
So what, arthritis in your head?
It's just inflammation of cells.
Yeah, but is it arthritis inflammation?
Well, sure, but a lot of things are inflammation.
What about in your head, though? I don't want it in my head.
Well, where would it go? Isn't arthritis when it's bone on bone?
You got bones in your head.
I got one.
Yeah. I don't think you should equate it with arthritis.
All right, I won't.
That's a bad one.
Okay.
I think I have that. I'm pretty sure I have
arthritis in your head?
In the brain.
Yeah.
Arthritis in the brain. New York City voters head to the polls today for municipal primaries, including, as you guys mentioned earlier, the mayoral
Here we go.
race. 11 candidates are running for the Democratic nomination. That winner is historically favored to win the general election, although this year there's a little curveball thrown in. The pack is led by former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who returned to politics following sexual harassment allegations and ran a centrist campaign focused on public safety. As of yesterday's polling, he had about 35% of the vote. The New York Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani has closed in on Cuomo's lead, the 33-year-old Democratic Socialist calling for universal child care, free bus rides, and a rent freeze on rent-stabilized apartments. One recent poll found him likely to win the nomination by up to 2 points through the city's ranked choice voting system. Now, the winner will have to face the Republican and independent candidates. One of those independent candidates is incumbent Mayor Eric Adams. He skipped the Democratic primary and is running as an independent amid a since-dropped corruption investigation. Cuomo and Mamdani could also appear on the November ballot through additional party lines.
Corolla had a great, I think it was Corolla, he had a great tweet about Adams, and Adams had put out this campaign video of, look at all the things we're getting done. He's walking around the city and, pointing his finger, and Corolla says, he didn't accomplish a GD thing in this video. But basically, it was all just him, showing himself around town. It was very, very funny.
Weird story from France. Nearly 150 people jabbed with syringes during a street festival, a music festival in France. The authorities say they have arrested so far 12 suspects. Across France, millions of people spilled out into the streets over the weekend to celebrate the annual music festival. Boy, Rook, I should have had your help with this. What's F-E-T-E?
Fête?
Fête de la musique.
Oh, Fête de la musique.
Fête de la musique.
Fête de la musique.
In the French capital of Paris, authorities reported there were 3 to 4 times as many people in public as normal. The needle attacks involved 145 victims, including 13 cases in Paris. In the northeastern French city of Metz, local police arrested 2 individuals, including a syringe attacker during the festival. That festival broke all attendance records in the area. The mayor of that city said risks are always present in the wild. However, we had to deal with syringe attacks. French officials did not say if the cases were needle spiking, which typically sees attackers inject victims with date rape drugs, typically in the arm, leg, or buttocks, leaving them disoriented and vulnerable to assault.
So we don't know what they were given.
That's correct.
Maybe nothing is a possibility.
A lot of the people, though, and maybe this is just from getting stuck with a needle, did go to the hospital feeling weird and disoriented. So,
what if you blow air into them? If there's nothing in there and you push air in,
that's not good, is it?
That's really bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would cause clotting, wouldn't it?
This could be the new way of attacking. You don't need firearms, knives, or anything. How many people, John? You said over 300?
No, 145.
145.
So a syringe, and they just push the stuff and it bubbles up? Is there anything in it?
Well, that's what we're trying to find
We don't
out.
know, yeah, and they haven't really said yet. So.
Well, let's find out, John.
But they have arrested 12 people, so I would assume there'd be some
12
forthcoming. So, yeah. If you often have nightmares, you may need to worry a bit more about your health.
Great. Every night.
New research presented today at the European Academy of Neurology Congress 2025 links frequent nightmares to faster biological aging and an over 3 times higher risk of premature death, even when taking into account other medical conditions.
Next story. It's too close to home.
Pursue that one at all?
No, go ahead.
Not nightmares, but man, really weird.
See, I don't have nightmares, but just goofy,
weird.
Give me the bad news, stuff. John. What's it?
Well, you age faster and you die sooner, basically.
Great.
That's what the study found. That's the short version.
Great.
So,
John, that's fantastic.
Is that it? Okay, but I'm done with news, but I would like to tell you guys about something, if you don't mind.
I want you to.
What is it?
Do you guys know what a virtual private network is?
No.
Joe, tell us about it.
Well, I call that a VPN.
That's very good. He knows the abbreviation for it. I'm going to tell you about ExpressVPN. Now, what a VPN does, it's a little link between your computer and a remote server owner. So it makes your IP network invisible to people who are trying to steal all your information. That's the short version of it. It's like this. Let's say you drive without car insurance. You're probably a good driver. You won't have any issues, but there are other drivers on the roads who don't drive as well as you. So why take a risk? Why take a risk with your computer? When you connect to an unencrypted network, say in cafes, hotels, or airports, your online data is not secure. ExpressVPN can stop hackers from stealing your data. It doesn't take a whole lot of technical knowledge for a hacker on the same network to gain access, steal your personal data like passwords or bank logins. ExpressVPN is the best VPN you can use, and it works on any device you want to use it on: phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure on the go. I'm a big fan of protecting my phone when I'm out and about. If I'm in a store, I might be looking up prices, that kind of thing, a coffee shop. Or today I have a doctor's appointment. I'll be sitting in the doctor's office, no doubt, looking for things to buy online.
John, that's very funny because I'm stealing some of Joe's information as we speak and transferring $10,000.
Well, if Joe was using ExpressVPN, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
ExpressVPN protects people from snooping on the unsecured network, and your passwords and everything you are going in and looking at is all safe. You can secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/GL. That's expressvpn.com/GL to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. expressvpn.com/GL.
And now, a man who has never had a relationship with a tree, Joe Souchere.
If summer's taking a toll on your garage door because you open and close it too much because you really want to get all that fresh air in, you might be conking out the springs and the rollers, get a hold of Precision Door. They serve western Wisconsin, the entire metro. They take care of everything you need to have fixed on your garage door. Plus, if you need a new door, Precision Door has the answer. They have models of new doors for every budget. And a new door does a couple of things: increases security, increases insulation, and certainly spiffs up the old estate. So right now, in fact, if you get a new door from Precision Door Minnesota, they'll throw in the new motor that opens and closes it. That's a value of more than $760. You can book online at precisiondoormn.com. That's one word, precisiondoormn.com, or call Precision Door at 612-263-6985. Alpha News is reporting that the Twin Cities Marathon is now reducing the fee to enter, in fact, 50% off, to historically underrepresented groups.
You mean like Kenyans that always win it every year?
Yeah.
It's called the Equity in Motion Program. Because you got to have equity.
Yeah.
And this discount applies to people who have been systematically excluded.
Wait a minute.
Oppressed or disadvantaged, apparently not by running, but by other aspects of life.
Pardon me, but what sacrifice are they making because those people couldn't afford it? It's a fundraiser. Now they can afford it at 50% off. So this is a marketing ploy.
Yeah, well, it's if you're black, indigenous, a person of color, athletes with a disability, LGBTQ+, what? Low-income individuals and non-binary runners and walkers.
So now they're raising their income level.
What's Janice?
Janice Foreman? Boy, I don't know. I don't think she's ever classified.
Is she non-binary?
She might be.
She smokes when she runs.
She is a smoke. Well, that would be an oppressed people who smoke.
By discounting the cost of marathon weekend registration, our hope is to promote social justice, equity, and inclusivity within our running community, says the Equity in Motion webpage. Well, you're wrong. What you're doing, again, is patting people on the head and saying, you're less than. We can't expect you to pay anything. Look at you. You're a black person. You must not even have a job.
Right.
We're going to pat you on the head and give you 50% off. I'm so trying to remember what I said the other day.
I think Matthew was on the right track. I think this is more of a DEI marketing ploy. This is going to make people feel good and say, oh, that's really something. I think it's I think everything's a marketing
the people
ploy.
that can't afford it aren't going to be in there. Let's just say their number is $1 million. Now it's going to be $1.5 million.
Well, the Upper Midwest Law Center is taking interest in it and saying, look, what you're doing is just as racist and illegal as advertising a discount for whites only. Well, they wouldn't do that.
No.
So
I Googled how much does it cost to run in the Twin Cities Marathon, came up with a price of $139.
Okay.
Whoa.
Well, people could be experiencing financial hardship.
Chris, doesn't your bride run?
I thought the last time she ran it, which would have been 2012, I believe, it was like $120.
What if you're a really good white runner and you're experiencing financial hardship?
Stay at home.
Yeah.
Cracker.
Yep, too bad.
Or run, follow them, just don't have the bib.
Yeah.
Right. Write your own, like 427 24601.
It's just unbelievable. It's tantamount to casting a net out, trying to fish for people who can claim that they think their power has been out more than others because they're marginalized. It's all BS. It's utter ridiculous nonsense that does not take into account the entire human condition, and it's ridiculous. Plus, it's just so stupid. What's to stop an LGBTQ runner if they have the time to run and prepare for a marathon? I would say you're probably also employed. You've got some discipline issues solved in your life. If you're a black guy who wants to run in the Twin Cities Marathon and you have the time and the discipline to train for that, I would say, you probably got the $130.
Yeah.
This is utter not. What walkers? Can you walk the Twin Cities Marathon?
Walk the Twin Cities Marathon. You got to walk
well,
fast.
then hell, I could enter it.
You could. It's going to take you a while. Like Janice is going to take you a couple days.
Yeah. What a bunch of BS.
So would there be a program from like relatively newlyweds where she's a runner, they live in Miami and would have to come up here? Would they qualify for any type of discount?
Not after the business he sold.
Okay.
What about me? I'm a fat bastard, old with a gray beard.
You're extraordinarily marginalized. I would pay for you.
so.
Morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Morbidly.
Why do we have to use the word morbid?
Yes. How you doing there?
Does it have to be morbid?
Yes.
The
stuff he analyzes is just unbelievable.
Well, it's only because they come to us all the way from Marloth Park in Mpumalanga Province, South Africa, from the traveling lineman. It was on this day.
Joe, today is June 24th.
In 1924, Herbert Hughes Bigelow of the Brown and Bigelow publishing firm was sentenced to 3 years in prison for income tax evasion. He had long argued that an income tax punished initiative, and he had expected to be fined rather than jailed for his transgression.
3 years?
Yep.
Wow.
That's a lot longer than this broad just got for stealing $400,000 from St.
She got
Kate's.
6 months probation.
On this day,
on June 24th.
In 1948, African-American leaders in the Twin Cities rejected an offer to establish an all-Negro unit of the Minnesota National Guard. The group told the state Adjutant General Ellard A. Walsh that it cannot accept the offer as a matter of principle. Walsh had proposed forming a truck company so that Minnesota's African Americans could take advantage of a provision in the draft law that exempted guardsmen from the draft. So back in 1948, there was an effort to make black people less than. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's been since the beginning of time, but it shouldn't be that way.
Well, they couldn't be in the National Guard, right? Isn't that the whole point?
Yeah, but so the Guard said to them, look, we'll let you form a truck unit.
Yeah, but it's got to be all black.
And they
so
said
it's
no.
Be segregated.
No, and they said no. You either let us in the Guard or go bleep yourself.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
On this day,
on June 24th,
in 1996, at the federal courthouse in St. Paul, White Earth Ojibwe leader Daryl Chip Wadena and others were convicted of corruption and vote buying. Wadena was sentenced to 4 years in prison.
Chip.
On this day in sports disappointment history,
June 24th.
On this day in 1989, so it would have been in the Dome. Well, maybe it was on the road. Twins players upset about being lied to about the second game of a doubleheader.
Oh, yeah. It was in Boston, right?
That's it. That's the story. It just says
No,
Twins
Roy-
players upset about being lied to about timing of second game and doubleheader.
I believe it was Boston because Royce has told us this story, and they each got, I think, a check to their favorite charity. And Danny Gladden said, I forget his daughter's name. I think it's Brittany. Said, yeah, mine's the Brittany Gladden Foundation.
And finally, on this day in sports disappointment history,
June 24th.
in 2004, the Timberwolves have no first-round draft pick due to penalties from illegal Joe Smith deal.
Yeah, that set the team back quite a bit.
Heck of a legacy for Glenn Taylor, huh?
Yep.
Thank you, GLers.
Thank you, GLers. And you know what I want to thank you for doing? Going to garagelogic.com, punching in the keyword auction, and look at how you can save up to 70% off of retail. And the auction is on right now. I was just looking at a couple things. EcoFun, Intense Cycles, small medium taser, MX Alloy Expert electric bike, $3,300 value, current bid $1,040. That is a lot of money off. And then when you want to take it around, the compass cart and rack system with accessories, go right now because it's not going to last forever, and there's limited items available. It's garagelogic.com. It's the Twin Cities Savers Summer Auction, 40-foot shipping container, which we talked about. Great stuff from Schoonover Body Works, and you can get it at a great deal right now. Limited stuff available, but great. Save up to 70%. It's a pretty good deal. It is the Twin Cities Savers Summer Auction at garagelogic.com, keyword auction.
Thanks, Rook. Also, do us a favor and find us on YouTube. Search Garage Logic on our YouTube channel, where you can watch the show each and every single day.
Every day?
Every day. You can also see full segments. There's video shorts. There's even some behind-the-scenes footage, but it's all there for you on the Garage Logic YouTube channel, where you can interact with the show live every day and join the nearly 16,000 subscribers. Also, follow us on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and sign up for the Daily Logician. That email comes right to your inbox each and every single day, and it includes the most recent episode of the podcast. You can find out more and sign up right now at the website, which is, of course, garagelogic.com. Time once again to check in with our guy, Mr. Money Talk. Josh Arnold is with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And boy, oh boy, now is the time for you to do the same. So do not delay. Do exactly what I did and pick up that phone and dial 952-925-5608. That number once again is 952-925-5608. When you call that number, you're going to get Josh. And he is there for you for that free, yes, I use the word free, 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And he will always give you the straight talk. He will never give you the sugar-coated advice. And he is on the line with us once again right here in Garage Logic. And boy, oh boy, Josh, where to begin today? However, I did see that Fed Chairman Powell says we're not in a recession.
That's a good question. That is a very good question that you're asking. The Fed Chairman is before today the House, tomorrow the Senate for the semi-annual Humphrey Hawkins testimony that all Fed chairmen have to do twice a year before the banking committees of both the House and the Senate. Both congressmen and senators get to ask pointedly Powell questions on the state of the economy, the state of the Fed, the state of interest rate policies, and check in on how the Fed is doing its job. Of course, there are other questions that congressmen and senators want to ask related to fiscal policy, but Powell has in the past judiciously avoided making any comments about fiscal policy, sticking in his lane with monetary policy and the Fed's charge of maintaining stability using their interest rate policy and maintaining full employment. Well, the Fed in today's testimony did indicate that the economy is not in a recession and that they are still, however, uncertain about the direction of inflation relative to the impact of tariffs. The tariffs impact could be a one-off, or it could be and create more prevalent inflation. So the Fed does feel justified, given how strong the economy is, according to the data, with maintaining their current interest rate policy. That's not to say that if there is some change in the data indicating that inflation is coming closer to their 2% target on one hand, or if unemployment increases substantially or they see the economy slowing, the Fed could start to initiate a series of interest rate cuts. Now, in the last few days, 2 Fed governors indicated that the Fed could consider cutting interest rates at the July meeting at least 25 basis points. And of course, President Trump has been pushing the Fed to cut interest rates because of how well the economy is doing, the impact currently of fiscal policies, and the fact that the president sees inflation coming down substantially. Well, we'll see a little bit more on inflation coming down later this week with the release of the Personal Consumption Expenditure Indicator on Friday, which is considered the Fed's preferred inflation gauge. Now, one of the things that I have talked about is the stickiness of inflation, particularly relative to housing prices, or we'll call it mortgage-adjusted rents, which have still remained fairly sticky, not to mention the cost of insurance, both property and casualty and health insurance, still going up. According to some recent reports coming at least from the home builders, Lennar last week, KB Homes last night, both have cut their guidance for the next quarter and maybe several quarters due to market softness for, we'll say, new home purchases, and that's primarily due to the price of houses as well as interest rates or mortgage interest rates still remaining high. Just with some of those instances or those signs from the home builders, that could be a sign for the Fed at least to say, mortgage adjusted rates at least have remained stable. That gives us a little bit of room possibly to cut some rates. But any hint of rate cuts typically seen as a positive in the marketplace. The cost of oil, or the price of oil, has been coming down all year. Some people have attributed that to a slowing economy. Indeed, the first quarter's GDP growth was negative. And if you have 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth, that's indicative of a recession. The last time we had 2 straight quarters of negative GDP growth was in 2022, which is during a period of time when the Fed was raising interest rates. The Fed is no longer raising interest rates. They have been on hold this year after cutting rates several times at the end of last year. My sense is, and I've shared this with you, I think the Fed is okay just leaving interest rates alone, at least on the short term, and the marketplace is bringing down longer-term rates as many, we'll say, worldwide economic worries have started to dissipate. With the, I'm not going to say the end to hostilities in the Mideast, but with the potential of a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, at the very least, Iran not blocking the Straits of Hormuz. The price of oil yesterday dropped $7 a barrel on West Texas Intermediate and is down again today, another $4 a barrel to $64.60. This is not a positive for oil stocks, whether it be large players like Chevron or Exxon, or smaller players like old favorite Northern Oil and Gas. So the oil stocks do tend to move with the price of energy. There's also an article in today's Wall Street Journal that said the frackers, such as a company like Northern Oil and Gas, as an example, are resistant to doing more drilling, and indeed, with the price of oil coming down, have been cutting back on their fracking activities. Now that would hurt some of the drill companies such as onshore drillers like Halliburton. So again, just a word of caution there. On the other hand, with hostilities settling down, the price of oil being down, that has given a lift to many leisure companies, including the casinos, including the hotels, including the airlines, and that would also include companies that help you plan trips or pay for trips like Expedia or Bookings.com. So plenty of positive over the, the potential ceasefire in the Mideast. Now, two things I'll say the market has been looking at very strongly. One, what is the Fed going to do with interest rates? And two, right now, is the price of oil, and that has been positive overall for the economy. Now, another positive for one of my favorite companies, and I'll say the second largest holding in my portfolio and my client's portfolio, Amazon, got a nice upgrade today, as did Walmart, on their delivery service in small and rural communities. And that gives both of these companies other ways to profit, we'll say, from e-commerce, which we do like. So going to be, excuse me, a very interesting week in general. We still have some earnings coming this week, including from Federal Express, which that'll come later today, and that typically will give a view of the economy, particularly with shipping. Although I think FedEx and UPS have less of an impact, given that other companies such as Amazon are expanding their own logistics departments. Then we've got Micron tomorrow and Nike on Thursday.
Excellent advice, as always, Mr. Money Talk. You heard him, GLers. Now is the time for you to pick up the phone and make the call for that free 48-minute financial consultation with absolutely zero obligation. And you do that just like I did by dialing 952-925-5608, where you always get straight talk and never, ever sugar-coated advice. Josh, once again, thank you so much for the time and the chat. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Look forward to it. Thanks, Chris.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Chris Reavers is a paid endorser.